When your phone vibrates at 3 in the morning, it never means anything good. I held it in my hands, staring at the photo that Marcus had just sent me, a DJ I'd worked with several years ago. The woman in the picture was dancing passionately with a man in an expensive suit, his hands firmly gripping her hips, lips pressed against her neck. The dance floor lighting blurred the details, but I would have recognized that figure in that dress anywhere. My name was Edward, I was 34 and I managed a nightclub in Austin. My wife Miranda made candles at home, aromatic ones from natural ingredients, sold in local boutiques. 5 years of marriage and I thought I knew her better than anyone. Marcus wrote, "Bro, sorry to bother you. Moved to Miami working at a new club. Saw your post with your wife on Instagram last year. Is this her?" They've been going at it for 3 hours now. I looked at the calendar. Miranda had left for the Maldives a week ago. She said she was going to a retreat for candle makers. Networking, workshops, inspiration. I didn't even object because she talked about it so enthusiastically. Now I sat in the dark living room of our apartment, and the world had turned upside down. This was the calmest day before the storm. The next morning I called Ryan, my friend from college who worked for an insurance company but did private investigations on the side. Not a detective, just a guy with the right connections and skills. "Eddie, are you serious?" he asked. "Very. I need to know everything. Who, where, how long?" Ryan agreed. 3 days later he sent me a file that made my blood run cold. Thomas Vernoni, owner of a chain of elite spa salons, 42 years old, divorced, no children. They had met at a mutual friend's party 8 months ago. 8 months, damn it. Ryan found their correspondence in cloud storage that Miranda had carelessly given him access to through our shared family account. The messages were intimate. Travel plans, discussions of the future, words of love. What killed me most, she wrote to him about me. That she loved me but felt alive with Thomas. That I was a good husband but she needed something more. And the ending of this story surprised even me. I didn't scream when she returned. I hugged her at the airport, smiled, asked about the trip. She enthusiastically talked about seminars and new friends. I nodded, listened, pretended. For the next 2 weeks I prepared my plan. Not revenge for money, I understood that in a divorce we would split everything equally. The apartment, savings, everything we bought together. I wanted something else. Miranda was popular in her circles. The candle makers group in Austin was a tight community. Everyone knew each other, shared secrets, supported one another. She had a reputation there as the perfect wife, a woman of principles who always talked about the importance of honesty in relationships. I created a fake account and started working. This was the moment when I realized there was no turning back. First, I sent an anonymous message to Sally, Miranda's closest friend, owner of the boutique where my wife's candles were sold. Just a photo from that club in Miami. No comments. A day later, Sally called Miranda. I heard their conversation. Miranda was sitting on the balcony thinking I was in the shower. Her voice trembled. "It's not what you think. It was just once. I was drunk." Lie after lie. Then I contacted the organizer of that party where they met. It turned out to be Janice, a distant acquaintance who also hung around craft maker circles. I told her everything, showed her the correspondence Ryan found. I asked her not to tell Miranda the information came from me. Janice was shocked. She started telling others. Word of mouth worked better than any advertising. What happened next is worth hearing. Within a week, Miranda lost 3 major sales points. The boutique owners simply said they were refocusing on other suppliers. She was removed from the producers group on social media. When she came to the monthly community meeting, she was coldly informed that the event was canceled. She cried at home, not understanding what had happened. I comforted her, hugged her, told her everything would work out. Meanwhile, I sent Thomas a letter. Not a threat, not a scandal. Just information. Your clients will find out about your relationship with a married woman. Think about whether it's worth it for your family business. Thomas disappeared. He stopped answering Miranda's calls, blocked her everywhere. Later, Ryan told me that Thomas was simply scared of the scandal. His spa salons were oriented toward family values and well-being. My reaction shocked even her friends. But I wasn't done yet. I knew that Miranda's world was built on connections and reputation. In the craft community of Austin, everyone knew everyone. Word traveled fast, and once your reputation was tarnished, it was nearly impossible to rebuild. I reached out to 3 more people in Miranda's network. Not directly, of course. Always through anonymous accounts, always careful. I sent them screenshots of the correspondence between Miranda and Thomas, the ones where she talked about deceiving me, about how exciting it was to live a double life. I made sure to include the parts where she laughed about my obliviousness, where she mocked the fact that I trusted her completely. These weren't just business contacts. These were women Miranda had mentored, had helped when they were starting their candle businesses. Women who looked up to her, who considered her a role model. The betrayal they felt wasn't just about the cheating, it was about the hypocrisy. Miranda had built her entire brand around authenticity, natural ingredients, honest living. And here she was living the biggest lie of all. One by one they distanced themselves. The invitations to craft fairs stopped coming. The collaborative projects were quietly cancelled. The podcast interview she had scheduled was postponed indefinitely, then cancelled altogether. Miranda started to panic. She couldn't understand why her entire world was crumbling. She tried calling people, sending emails, showing up at events. But the Austin craft community had made its decision. She was out. You won't guess how this all ends. I watched her deteriorate over the following weeks. She stopped making candles. She stopped leaving the apartment. She would sit on the couch for hours, scrolling through her phone, trying to figure out what had gone wrong. "Eddie," she said one evening, her voice barely a whisper. "I think someone is sabotaging me. Someone is spreading rumors about me. I don't know who or why, but my entire business is falling apart." I looked at her with what I hoped was sympathy. "That's terrible, honey. Who would do something like that?" She shook her head. "I don't know. I've been nothing but kind to everyone. I've helped so many people in the community. I don't understand." The irony wasn't lost on me. She genuinely couldn't see the connection between her actions and the consequences. In her mind, the affair with Thomas was completely separate from her professional life, from her friendships, from everything else. She had compartmentalized so effectively that she couldn't understand why others wouldn't do the same. But I knew better. In a tight-knit community like Austin's craft scene, your personal integrity was everything. Once that was gone, everything else crumbled too. Thomas, meanwhile, had completely ghosted her. I knew this because I still had access to our shared cloud account, which meant I could see her desperate attempts to contact him. Texts, emails, even a handwritten letter she had scanned and saved. All unanswered. Ryan told me that Thomas had actually started dating someone new, a woman who worked in his company, someone single and uncomplicated. For him, Miranda had been an exciting distraction, nothing more. And once that distraction threatened his business reputation, he cut her off without a second thought. I let this play out for another month. Watched as Miranda's confidence completely shattered. Watched as she went from a vibrant, successful businesswoman to someone who could barely get out of bed in the morning. Part of me felt bad. After all, I had loved this woman. We had built a life together. But then I would remember those messages, the way she wrote about me to Thomas, the way she had deceived me for 8 months, and the sympathy would evaporate. Then came the conversation I had been planning for 2 months. It was a Saturday evening. Miranda was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her hair unwashed, her eyes red from crying. The apartment was a mess. She had stopped cleaning, stopped taking care of herself, stopped everything. I sat down next to her, my heart pounding. Despite everything, this was still hard. "Miranda, we need to talk." She looked at me with desperate eyes. "Eddie, I'm so glad you're here. I don't know what's happening to me. Everything is falling apart and I feel like I'm losing my mind." "I know about Thomas," I said quietly. The color drained from her face. For a moment she looked like she might faint. Then the panic set in. "What? Who's Thomas? I don't know what you're talking about." "Stop." My voice was firm but not angry. "I know everything. The party 8 months ago. The affair. The Maldives trip that wasn't about candles. All of it." She started crying immediately, great heaving sobs that shook her entire body. "Eddie, please, I can explain. It was a mistake. I love you. I've always loved you. Thomas was just, he was just." "Just what?" I asked. "Just someone you fell in love with while staying married to me? Just someone you planned a future with while sharing a bed with me?" She reached for my hand but I pulled away. "How long have you known?" she whispered. 2 months. Since you were in the Maldives." Her eyes widened. 2 months? But you've been so normal. So supportive. You helped me when my business started failing. You. "Yes," I said. "I did." The realization dawned on her slowly. I could see it in her eyes, the confusion turning to understanding, the understanding turning to horror. "It was you," she breathed. "You destroyed my business. You turned everyone against me. You made Thomas leave." I didn't confirm or deny. I just looked at her. "How could you?" she screamed, suddenly furious. "How could you be so cruel? So calculated? I made a mistake, Eddie. One mistake. And you systematically destroyed my entire life. One mistake, I repeated calmly. Miranda, you had an affair for 8 months. You lied to me every single day. You took trips with him while telling me you were working. You wrote to him about how exciting it was to deceive me. That's not one mistake. That's a choice you made every single day for 8 months. She was crying again, but this time with anger mixed in with the sadness. What about forgiveness? What about our vows? For better or worse? You broke those vows, I said. Not me. And as for forgiveness, maybe someday I will forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean staying. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. I pulled out the divorce papers from my bag. I want a divorce. These are ready to sign. We'll split everything 50-50, the apartment, the savings, everything. I'm not trying to cheat you financially. I just want out. She stared at the papers like they were a death sentence. Eddie, please. Don't do this. We can fix this. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut off all contact with Thomas. I'll rebuild your trust. Please. Thomas already cut off contact with you, I said. Weeks ago. He wanted nothing to do with you once he realized the affair might damage his reputation. That seemed to hurt her more than anything else I'd said. She crumpled, the last bit of hope leaving her eyes. Over the next 3 months we went through the divorce process. Miranda tried to fight it at first, but eventually she gave up. We sold the apartment and split the money. We divided our savings equally. I didn't want anything more than what was fair financially. But the other costs to Miranda were enormous. Her business never recovered. The community she had spent years building had rejected her completely. Thomas never came back. She tried to reach out to old friends, but most of them had heard the story by now, not from me directly but through the grapevine. The truth had a way of getting out. I remember one particular incident about 4 months after the divorce papers were served. Miranda had tried to attend a local craft fair, hoping to reconnect with the community and maybe salvage some business relationships. She had set up a small booth with her remaining inventory, beautifully crafted candles in various scents and sizes, each one a testament to her skill and creativity. But the response was ice cold. People walked past her booth without even glancing at her products. Former friends and colleagues actively avoided her section of the fair. One woman, someone Miranda had helped get her start in the business, actually turned around and walked the other direction when she saw Miranda. I heard about this from Ryan, who had been keeping tabs on the situation for me. He told me Miranda had packed up early in tears, having made 0 sales. The humiliation of being publicly shunned in a community she had once been a leader in was devastating. Part of me wondered if I had gone too far. But then I remembered the screenshots Ryan had found. The messages where Miranda had laughed with Thomas about my pathetic trust in her. The texts where she called me convenient and safe, while describing Thomas as exciting and alive. The plans they had made to eventually leave their respective situations and start fresh together. Before I continue, please pause the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new interesting stories. Thank you. Those messages haunted me. They revealed a side of Miranda I had never known existed. Someone capable of deep deception, someone who could compartmentalize her life so completely that she felt no guilt about betraying the person who trusted her most. Around month 5 of our separation, something unexpected happened. Miranda's mother, Carol, reached out to me. We had always had a good relationship, and she was devastated by what her daughter had done. "Edward," she said over coffee at a neutral location, "I don't know what possessed Miranda to do what she did. I raised her better than that. I taught her about integrity and commitment." I could see the genuine pain in Carol's eyes. She was struggling with her own sense of failure as a parent, wondering where things had gone wrong. "It's not your fault, Carol," I told her. "Miranda made her own choices. She's an adult." "I know," Carol said, wiping away a tear. "But I can't help feeling responsible somehow. And I want you to know that what she did was unforgivable. You deserved so much better." We talked for over an hour. Carol told me that Miranda had tried to paint herself as the victim to her family, claiming that I was being unnecessarily cruel and vindictive. But Carol wasn't buying it. She had seen the evidence, heard the full story from mutual friends, and understood that Miranda had brought this on herself. "She keeps calling me, crying about how her life is falling apart," Carol said. "And I feel terrible because she's my daughter and I love her. But I also can't condone what she did to you. I can't pretend it was just a mistake." This conversation gave me a strange sense of validation. Even Miranda's own mother understood that actions had consequences, that betrayal couldn't just be swept under the rug and forgotten. The divorce was finalized on a cold Tuesday in November, Almost exactly 6 months after that photo from Marcus had shattered my world. Miranda and I met at the courthouse, signed the final papers, and walked away from each other for the last time. She looked terrible, thin, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. The vibrant, confident woman I had married was gone, replaced by someone broken and defeated. "I really did love you, you know," she said as we stood outside the courthouse. "I still do." "Maybe you did," I replied. "But love isn't enough if it comes without respect, without honesty, without loyalty." She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. "I know I can't fix this. I know I destroyed everything. But I want you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. I wanted to feel something, anger, satisfaction, sadness. But I just felt empty. I hope you find what you're looking for, Miranda. I really do. But it can't be with me." We parted ways and I watched her walk to her car, shoulders slumped, carrying the weight of her choices. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, I heard from Ryan that Miranda had moved to Houston. She was trying to start over, building a new candle business from scratch. But now she was just another maker in a crowded market, without the reputation, without the connections, without the community she had built in Austin. I stayed in Austin. My career didn't suffer. In fact, my colleagues were supportive. Many of them had been through divorces themselves. They respected the way I had handled it, the way I had kept my dignity. I started dating again after about a year. Nothing serious at first, just testing the waters. I was surprised to find that the betrayal hadn't made me cynical about relationships. If anything, it had made me more appreciative of honesty and communication. One evening, about 18 months after the divorce, I ran into Janice at a coffee shop. She was the one who had helped spread the word about Miranda's affair through the community. "Edward," she said, looking slightly uncomfortable. "How are you?" "I'm good," I said honestly. "Really good, actually." She hesitated, then asked, "Do you ever regret it? The way you handled things with Miranda?" I thought about it for a moment. "No," I said. "I don't." What she did hurt me deeply. But what hurt more was the deception, the way she could look me in the eye every day and lie. I couldn't just let that go. I couldn't pretend it didn't matter. Janice nodded. "I heard she's in Houston now, trying to rebuild." "I know," I said. "I hope she finds happiness. I really do. But it won't be with me, and it won't be in the life she destroyed here." We talked for a few more minutes, then parted ways. As I walked back to my new apartment, smaller than the one Miranda and I had shared, but mine alone, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Miranda had lost everything that mattered to her. Her husband, her lover, her business, her friends, her reputation. She had taken half the money from our divorce, but money was just money. Everything else that truly mattered lay in ruins. Sometimes I wonder if she ever understood why it all fell apart. If she ever connected her personal choices with the professional and social consequences. Or if she still saw herself as a victim, someone who made one mistake and was punished too harshly. But that wasn't my concern anymore. I had moved on. I had rebuilt my life. And I had learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't about causing pain. It's about letting someone face the natural consequences of their actions while you walk away with your head held high. The Austin nightlife scene continued to thrive. I got promoted to regional manager, overseeing 3 clubs across Texas. I met someone new, a lawyer named Jessica who was smart, funny, and refreshingly honest about everything. We took things slow, building trust brick by brick. Jessica knew about my past, about Miranda and the betrayal. I was upfront about it from the beginning, not wanting to start a new relationship with any secrets or hidden pain. She listened, asked questions, and never judged. "You did what you felt you needed to do," she told me one night as we sat on my balcony, looking out over the Austin skyline. And honestly, she brought it on herself. 8 months of lying? That's not a mistake, that's a pattern. Jessica's perspective helped me see things more clearly. She helped me understand that protecting yourself after betrayal isn't cruel, it's necessary. That setting boundaries and refusing to be a victim isn't revenge, it's self-respect. We dated for 2 years before getting engaged. During that time, I occasionally heard updates about Miranda through mutual acquaintances. She was still in Houston, still struggling to rebuild her business and her life. She had dated a few people but nothing serious. The shadow of what she had done seemed to follow her everywhere. I didn't take pleasure in her continued struggles, but I didn't feel guilty about them either. She had made choices, and those choices had consequences. That was the natural order of things. 2 years after the divorce, I finally felt like myself again. The wound had healed, leaving a scar but not a constant pain. I could think about Miranda without anger, without bitterness. just a kind of sad acknowledgement that we had been wrong for each other, that the life we built had been based on a foundation that couldn't hold. I never told anyone the full extent of my involvement in dismantling Miranda's life in Austin. Ryan knew, of course, but he kept my confidence. To everyone else, it just seemed like the natural consequences of her actions catching up with her. Which, in a way, it was. I had just accelerated the process. Did I feel guilty? Sometimes. Late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I would think about the woman I had married, the woman who made candles with such passion and care. I would remember the good times, the laughter, the dreams we had shared. And I would feel a pang of regret for what we had lost. But then I would remember the lies. The betrayal. The way she had lived a double life for 8 months without a trace of remorse until she got caught. And the guilt would fade, replaced by a quiet certainty that I had done what I needed to do to protect myself and my dignity. 3 years after the divorce, Jessica and I got married in a small ceremony in the Texas Hill Country. It was intimate, with just close friends and family. As I stood there watching Jessica walk down the aisle toward me, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for second chances, for the wisdom that comes from pain, for the opportunity to build something real and honest with someone who valued those same things. The past was behind me. Miranda was behind me. And ahead was a future built on trust, communication, and mutual respect. All the things my first marriage had lacked. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. The screen now displays a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.